Hey everyone, nice to see you again. Kevin here again, and today we're going to talk about something that's kind of surprised me. The number of comments and questions I've got on this, the Alesis Nitro Mesh bass drum tower, and how I've done some things. In some of my earlier videos playing double bass with it, people asked, well, is it possible? How did you do it? And it is quite possible, and we'll take a look at how it is possible and what you have to do in order to use it. We'll also take a look at what I've been using instead of the standard tower. Lots of questions on that. And then lastly, I think I figured out a way to maybe create another way to create a bass drum pad from one of the mesh pads. So we'll fool around with that as well, and we'll get started, alright? Before we get too far, really appreciate all your likes and comments and suggestions. Really, if you could subscribe to the channel, that's really fantastic. We're climbing up the charts on terms of subscribers and such, and it just keeps unlocking new potential for me, so I really appreciate it. I also love the comments. You can check out our website, my website, bustingsticks.com, where I post all the videos and a few other things. And I also have a page with all the links for the different things that I use here, whether it be the kit itself or some of the things you'll see today with the bass drum pad and the bass drum pedals and beaters and other things. And, you know, as typical Amazon affiliate links do, every little bit helps because nobody's sponsoring me. I'm buying all this stuff myself. So, you know, whatever you can do to help me out would be fantastic. And it's a quick and easy link if you're wondering how I did certain things. So I appreciate all your support. And let's take a look at this bass drum setup. Alright, so let's start here with just the bass pad by itself. It's nothing great to write home about. It's made out of a decent gauge steel. It is kind of small. Really, its biggest issue is because there's no mass to it. It's easy to bump around. I usually had to put a cinder block because it's got the two adjusting pegs right there, but they really don't do a great job of holding everything in place because as you kick at that, it slowly makes its way across the thing. Like I said, I was using a cinder block, and even that was getting pushed around pretty easily. So I've gone with a different solution, which I'll show you in a second, but people have asked, they saw in my earlier videos, hey, how did you use out the double bass pedal? I'm going to show you right now. I'm going to hook up my bass pedal I pulled out from the main kit, and we'll take a look at what that looks like. Alright, so now you can see I have my bass pedal hooked up, my double bass pedal. This is a Pearl P902. It's an older pedal for sure, although I know that you can still get one like this. And you can see his beater number 1, the main beater, and you can see where it hits on the pad, and beater number 2. So what's unique perhaps about this bass drum pedal is it has an adjustment on the main beater to slide it across the connecting rod. So I've pushed these basically as close as they can go. You can see how close they are. They're barely touching basically when they go by. And you can see right here on the rod, right here, there's an adjustment screw underneath. Let's see if I can show you that. And you can see that hex screw right there. That hex screw lets me slide that to the right and to the left. And that's really been the trick, is that this particular pedal really lets me get those two beaters right next to each other. So you can see that both beaters hit pretty well in the center of that pad. Okay, nice close-up of that, right? Once again, fantastic cinematography here. But what do you want? It's a drum channel, not a movie channel. The other thing that you might notice is my bass drum beaters. They kind of look like tennis balls. These are the Silent Strike beaters. They're fantastic, honestly. I have a link on my website to pick these up. They cut down the volume. Doesn't sound like you're smashing into a hard rubber pad with hard felt or plastic or whatever else. It has a nice little bounce to it, and it just cuts the ambient sound down in the room. It also, honestly, like, it feels better. Like you're not smashing your foot into a metal pad with a hard beater smashing into a rubber piece. But you can see the whole thing moves around a lot without a cinder block attached to it. I'm going to try and pull out what I have as a bass drum pad right now. You can't buy this unless you go back in time with your DeLorean. I'm going to pull it out and show you what I have. Hold on one second. Okay, welcome to 1985. This is from an Ultimate Percussion electronic drum set that I bought sometime in 1985, I'll say. The cool red pinstriping is clearly my doing, because I thought back in 1985 that was kind of cool to go along with my red drum set. This kit I picked up, it basically had two sounds. One kind of that standard electronic drum sound that you heard from the 1980s, and then one where you added a little bit of white noise to give it a little fuzz, and a button that you could basically lower the entire pitch of the kit by like a third. That's pretty much all it could do. But I have all the pads left, and they actually all still work as triggers. I don't have them here. But you can see, as a bass drum pad, it's got a couple of advantages. One, it's got a large amount of mass. It's a big pad, so it's not going to move anywhere. And two, as you can see, the spikes that come out of this thing are long, they're wide, and they're very, very pointed. So they really do a good job of holding everything in together. If we take this thing, we'll spin it around. You can see, it's a typical pad from the 1980s. Kind of Simmons-like, except, you know, instead of a hexagon, it's a strange chopped-off triangle. It's got two spikes on the front and a big plate to mount your bass drum pedal to. And the connection actually is an XLR 3-pin, even though it's really just a mono output on it. But that's the bass drum pad I've been using. I've had this, honestly, since 1985. I haven't used it in a million years, except for a couple of projects I did with a couple of schools that I helped teach at for a few things. But it still works. I pulled it out of the closet and said, let's give this a try. And honestly, it's been fantastic. So that's what you see in a lot of my videos. Works really well for what it is. Again, from 1985, I can't complain. I think I've got my money's worth out of it for sure. I think I have a way to use one of the mesh pads as a bass drum pad with a little creative engineering. So let me get set up and we'll see what we can see with that, okay? Well, look at that. I was able to get a mesh pad down here and mount it up just using parts I had. Now, yes, I cheated a little bit because I have a whole extra rack, so I have extra pieces. But you could accomplish the same thing by, instead of using the snare arm mount, maybe taking your snare and mounting it with a regular snare stand or something in place. But basically, I'm going to see if I can get in there with this in just a second and show you how I hooked it up. But both pedals hit the mesh pad. It works fantastically. I'll show you that in a second. Let's see if we can zoom in there and see what's going on. So basically what I did, I took an arm. It's hard to see because the bass pedal is in there, but I took the clamp and I mounted it to the post and came out at an angle and took the pad mount and the bar and played around with it until I could get someplace. I took the Alesis bass drum pad, I turned it around so I could use the metal piece to clamp the bass drum pedal to it. It's kind of cheesy, but it rests up against the leg and it doesn't go anywhere. Let's see if I can go around the other side and get a better shot. Bass drum pedal is attached to the back side of the bass drum tower that's turned around backwards, and it's just kind of leaning up against the leg so it won't go anywhere, so it's not going to slide. I don't need a cinder block. We've used the clamp right in there to hold it, and you can see right here is the clamp that went on to the leg tubing, and then it juts out right in there, and you can see how we've mounted that up. Alright, here it is from straight down. So there's the bass drum pad. There's the arm coming out. I have it coming out at an angle, and then I was able to take the clamp and twist it and bend it enough so that the arm can come out, so I can get the bass drum pad to sit just right. And it works. It actually works. Let me show you. Alright, so here I am sitting down. I'm using, I have a pair of monitors from Monoprice. Fantastic value. So instead of wearing headphones, I can actually hear the drums, which was a lot of fun. It's midnight here, so I'm not going to do it, but you can see. Totally works. You can see it's pretty steady, not going anywhere. If anything, you probably have a little bit more dynamics because that mesh head, you could tune it up, tune it down. But I'd say if you're looking for an alternative to the Alesis bass tower and you don't have a bass drum pedal where you can push the beaters closer together, you could totally rig something up this way where you could get a mesh pad, whether you take your snare stand and use that bar and put your snare on a regular stand or something else, because it is just a standard L mount arm, or find another way to get creative, but it's totally doable. I'll be going back to my trusty 1985 pad because I have a use for that extra pad up on the kit, but as you can see, it can be done with a little creative engineering. If you found a different way to do it, I'd love to see what you pulled off, because again, hacking this kit is half of the fun. As we know, you can put up to 15 triggers on this, and now I have all 15. I have a video coming out real soon where I'm playing another cover tune where I am using all the pads, so you'll get to see that in action real soon. Well, there you have it. With some creative engineering, you can solve the issue of the Alesis Nitro Bass Drum Mesh bass pad if you don't have a time machine and can't go back to 1985 and grab one of these pads. I'm sure there are plenty of other bass pads that could work out there. There are even bass triggers that you could use with an old bass drum and a mesh head. All those silent stroke heads could be put on an old bass drum or floor tom conversion kit and used as well. But if you buy an extra pad with the expansion kit or off of eBay or whatever else, and you get creative with the piping underneath, as you can see, we can make it work. So keep your questions coming. I really appreciate all the time that you folks take to watch these crazy videos. Again, comment, like, subscribe, all the things that you do on YouTube. Check out the website, bustingsticks.com, where you'll find links for the beaters on Amazon and a few other things that I use often. And other than that, hope to see you real soon. See you, bye.